Hey there, and welcome to this edition of ChamberSOUTH Spotlight. I'm your host, Tiffani Helberg, a proud board member at the Chamber. I'm also with Community Health of South Florida, and today I'm so excited to be joined by Victor Seijas. He is an author and, get this combo, also a general contractor with Synergy
General contracting.
Yes, general contracting with Synergy Construction. Is that right?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. And this is amazing. It's a really great experience. So thank you for your time, Tiffani. Thanks.
So you're pretty impressive. You were telling me that you wrote this book, you're a contractor, and you just woke up one day and said, you know what? I have so much to offer. I'm going to write this book and guide people in life. Tell us a little bit about that,
Sure.
how that happened.
So, like everybody, I had a couple bumps in the road, especially when I was very young. In my preteen, like in my teenage years, you know, life shows up. You're not an adult. Things are happening. Life shows up. You don't understand things. You think things should be one way, and they start becoming reality. And so I had a lot of bumps in the road, like we've all had. Everybody out there's had bumps in the road. What ends up happening then is I end up looking for help. I mean, that's how bad things got. Divorces, situations like that at home. I made some really bad decisions. Fortunately for me, I found the right people that could help me, and they started helping me. And I got so excited with what I was learning that I didn't want to forget it, so I started writing things down. As I wrote things down, I then got motivated to share it with other people. So I've been in this process for over 35 years helping people with my experiences, with things that I've learned. And then I get caught up in life, you know, get a career, life starts going well, dreams are coming true. Things you didn't think were possible start becoming possible. You start a family. So life shows up. You get caught up with that. But I always had that little nagging thing. Maybe one day I'll get to the book. Maybe one day I'll write a book and explain my process, explain what I've learned, explain what my teachers have taught me. I want to say about 7 years ago, that went from a wish to like a dream, and there was a little more urgency. The reason there was more urgency is some of my mentors started to pass away. And as an honor to what they taught me, I really wanted to share their message and their teachings. So it became more of a reality of writing the book, but still, life is life. You know, you got to pay your bills. You got to, you know, show up and face situations. Right before COVID, or right as COVID starting, I just say, you know what, it's either now or never. And a lot of my friends took advantage of the COVID situation to chase their dreams, not follow them but chase them. I have a friend of mine who was so aggressive with like, I want to make this come true. And he went for it, and it came through. And so I used him as motivation, and he used me to coach him through some stuff, but I used him as motivation too. So it was a very mutual situation. It was amazing. He's doing great. He's on a TV show now because he's a media personality, and his life has changed incredibly since COVID. But he didn't just sit and wait for the world to end. He actually did something.
Yeah.
So that was very cool. And so I said, you know what? It's either now or never. And so I started taking some classes online. I started getting some coaching, and I just went for it. And the book, I thought it was going to be easy. But it wasn't. But it was challenging, but it wasn't impossible. I wrote the book, and one of the biggest things that's come out of it is friends of mine have read it, and they've said, you know what? It's helped me. And I was like, gosh, that's what I wanted. You know, what I wanted was to give something back, because so many people have given me stuff, and you can't keep what you have unless you give it away. You know, you got to share that knowledge, share the information. And that's why I did the book. So I hope somebody gets something out of it, and a couple of people already have. So I'm a happy camper.
That's cool.
Satisfied.
That's your legacy of knowledge from the friends who have taught you.
Exactly. And at the beginning of the book, I dedicate the book to my kids, and I tell them, I hope one day you actually read this and maybe get some value from it, because you know how it is. Sometimes proximity is it's not a good thing, because you're too close. So you tell them things, you tell people, friends, family, things, and they don't value it because there's too much familiarity. So hopefully one day they'll be able to see this and, you know, learn what I'm trying to tell them.
How old are your kids?
27 and 23.
Okay.
So they're young adults, or not so young adults, but they're doing great. And I'm very fortunate. I'm very happy with them. And one of the biggest gifts I have is that we have conversations. And I didn't have that with my parents sometimes. It was more butting heads, you know? So
cool.
We learn.
So tell me some of the nuggets of knowledge that you have in this Dare to Live.
So in Dare to Live, I came up with 6 keys to turning setbacks into comebacks. We all have setbacks. Setbacks are going to happen. And, you know, I hate the word fail because to me, fail is like, it implies like just pain, you know, like you're not good. And it's not that. I learned that fail means first attempt in learning. So changing that meaning of failing to, hey, I'm new at this. I might not be new at this, but it doesn't matter. Things are going to happen and I just need to keep learning. So I came up with this 6-step process, which is turning your mindset, because I think mindset's super important. Mindset from a victim mentality of everything happens to me. Why am I so unlucky? Why do things, you know, why can anything ever go right? Changing it from that to a victorious mindset, which is, hey, this is not happening to me. It's happening for me.
Yes,
something's gonna change. There's a reason for this to happen. There's a challenge. I need to step up. More is going to be revealed. So once you start seeing the world with that perception of possibilities instead of need, instead of lack, and, you know, it's almost changing it into a gratitude attitude, you know?
Yeah.
So that's the first key. The second key is inventory. And I think an inventory is something we all need to do. We all need to look at our lives and say, number one, who's in my life that needs to stay in my life? Where am I going? And who do I want to come with me? Number two, what's really working? Are there things that I need to change? I mean, we need to be honest. We need to be honest with ourselves. We can't keep, and the older we get, the more seasoned we get, the more we realize, hey, the buck stops here. We need to get real.
Of course.
So that's the second key. The third key is making a commitment. You got to be serious. You got to really want to get better, because if it's not a real commitment, you don't get the results. You know, I've been trying to lose 15, 20 pounds for the last 40 years and I don't make a real commitment, so it doesn't work. But in other areas of my life, I'm able to make those commitments and I see the results. So
sure,
that is a key that is very important. You need to make sure you want to stick to this and you're all in. The fourth step, the fourth key is taking action. Because nothing happens unless you take action. So taking action is extremely important. And what I learned after you start taking action, obstacles present themselves. And we need to learn to overcome those obstacles. We need to have tenacity. We need to have the ability, the resilience to get knocked down, but get back up again. I was able to take some classes with Les Brown, the famous motivational, inspirational speaker. And Les has a famous saying where he says, if you fall down, make sure you fall on your back, because if you look up, you could get up. And we all know that if we fall down 6 times, we have to get up 7, right? Yeah. So obstacles are going to happen to us and to everybody else. You see the best stories, the Rocky, the sports stories, they all have this obstacle that they got to get through. Yeah. And that's why we love those stories. And those stories are our life. We all have gone through obstacles. Mm-hmm. Everybody goes through obstacles. Right. Nobody gets a free pass. So the overcoming obstacles is what separates the people that do something with their life with the people that just sit back and watch. And say, I'm a victim. And just wait for the perfect time that never comes, the perfect situation. You just got to get doing. And then the last step was taking responsibility. taking responsibility for your life and saying, hey, I have a say in my life. I'm not a spectator. Things don't go exactly how I planned, but at least I'm engaged. And that's where the title comes from. You have to be willing to take a chance. You can't just sit back and wait for life to happen, because sometimes it happens, but a lot of times you're just sitting and waiting.
You need to make it happen.
You need to make it happen. You need to be involved in, and you have a say. You have a say in your life. So the book is simple. It's not War and Peace. It's not complicated. It's practical. I went for less is more, but I went with more detail. You make it so difficult that it's overwhelming. So I try to keep it on the simple side, but at the end of the day, the most satisfying thing has been having friends of mine who know me, some for 40 plus years, and tell me, wow, you helped me. I was going through something and I read this and it helped me. Thank you. So it's been humbling. It's what it really has been, is humbling. So I'm super satisfied with the process. If anyone out there wants to write a book, do it. We need people to help people. And our experiences are super important.
Absolutely. We learn from each other.
Yeah.
So you recently released the book, and how's it doing? Where can people find it?
So the book's on Amazon. I self-published, and I had so much support and so much positivity that I actually made Amazon bestseller.
Ooh, awesome.
So thank you so much. It's humbling. It really is, because sometimes we love to help, and sometimes we don't like to receive help because, we want to be independent. But people have really helped me, and I'm just grateful. I'm just really grateful for the results. It's been a really good situation, experience. A little bit of a bumpy road, but all roads are bumpy, but it's been great. I'm just super happy with the process, and so many people were supportive of me throughout the years, and I'm just glad this dream came true.
Awesome. So you published your first book. What's next?
I want to do some motivational, inspirational speaking, because I think people need to hear a positive message, especially with everything that's going on in the world today. Mm-hmm. I also want to empower people, to let them know you're special. Everyone is here for a reason. The odds of you being alive are 1 to 500 million. 1 in 500 million for you to be who you are. And there's no one in the world that's exactly like you. So you are super unique. And if you're that unique, you have to be here for a purpose. And I remember a quote. I was talking this with my son at dinner a couple of weeks ago, where I said, there's 2 important days: the day you're born and the day you find out why. And then he looked at me and he said, Mark Twain. And I go, wow, I'm impressed. Yes, Mark Twain.
I've done my job.
I was like, awesome. And he goes, yeah. And I go, what do you think that means? And he says, well, I think it means that you need to actually start living your life and why you're meant to be alive, because we all have a purpose. And then I said, you know what I think? I think there's a 3rd important day. And he looked at me and says, what's that, Papi? And I said, well, I think the 3rd important day is, after you know why you're here, to actually start working towards that goal of implementing it. Yeah. And he looked at me, he said, wow, that's cool. And he said, is that what your book's about? And I said, I think so. I think this is one of the reasons I'm here, to help people and to give back, and hopefully to be a positive voice. We're all of us are examples and warnings. We're examples of what our life could be, and we're warnings of mistakes that we make and what not to make. But at the end of the day, we all learn through our own experiences. So we need to just share those, because that's the number one lesson.
Good for you. I also think there's great value in your kids seeing you take on a momentous project like that and achieving that goal, right?
That's been something that I didn't think they were going to, you know how it is. Sometimes you don't think they're paying attention when they really are. And
they are.
Yeah, they always are.
They might not say it.
Exactly. Right. And at a very young age, they're very captive. Oh, they don't know what's going on. Right. Yeah, they know everything.
They do.
And my son came up to me the day the book launched, and he was like, good luck. I'm proud of you. And that, I didn't even think he knew you know what I'm saying? I didn't think he was really paying attention, because sometimes they're in their own little world, and it's hard sometimes to express, feelings, even in our families. And so I'd like that to change. I really would like to see that change in our society, in the world. And I'm doing my little part to do that. So
that's great. So tell me about the other half of your brain, the contractor part.
That is the part that I've been doing. Literally, I've been on a construction site since I was like 5 or 6 years old, because my grandfather was a contractor. My uncle, even my mom's built houses. So my dad's in the industry as well. My brother is a building official. He's the one with all the brains and all the know-how of like the codes. And so I've been at this my whole life, It's like everybody in my family's always been in this. So it was natural for me to go into this. And I'm happy. It's a great industry. I love seeing the finished product. I love helping my clients fulfill their wish of. So what we've done, and originally I was in residential before 2008. I did only residential, and my purpose was to help people get their first home. Mm-hmm. That's really what I emphasized on. And I was a track builder. I was one of the top FHA home builders in South Florida for many years. Independent, because the bigger companies obviously were bigger, but as one of the biggest independent builders in the county, that kind of doesn't exist anymore with the pricing and the situation we have now. Then after the market crashed, like in 08, 09, 10, I went into commercial, and now I work mostly at institutions. Miami-Dade, FIU, Merrick Park are some of our clients. We've worked at Nicholas Children's Hospital. We also still do some affordable housing. So we do a lot of different stuff, but it's mostly on the commercial side is where we specialize. And we just like to make sure that our clients, number one, they get value. We try to save them as much money as possible, and we try to meet deadlines, which in the construction industry, we get a really bad reputation with deadlines. A lot of things are out of our control, especially now with the supply chain issues that we've seen in the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. However, experience is a way of leveraging, hedging that bet. So we could see scenarios coming down before they happen, and we talk to owners about it, and we let them know, hey, you might want to change lamps, because believe it or not, these lamps are going to take 6 months to get here, and you want the job done in 3. So either we wait 6 months for the lamps or we change lamps. So those are little things that we've learned throughout the years, and we help our clients make sure they reach their goals and they know what's going on. And we've had success because we try to be as honest as possible and straightforward. So
communication is key. Yeah, absolutely.
It's not always the easiest thing, but it's very
tough
key.
Conversation.
Yeah.
I'm a real estate agent at Berkshire Hathaway, and I think that we're in one of the most unusual markets right now. Where do you see things going?
I don't know.
I think nobody knows.
I'll tell you why I say that. I remember at one point I had built over 1,500 homes, right? So people were like, oh, but you're a real estate professional. I go, yeah, I built 1,500 homes. I was very successful. And then the market changed. And I've never been able to figure out what's going on anymore after that. Mm-hmm. I think the market's going to stop growing, and it keeps growing. I think it's going to do this and it does that. So honestly, I have no idea what's going to happen. I think something needs to happen as far as home ownership and the American dream. Something's got to give, because
especially here in South Florida, right?
Yeah, it's scary. It's scary. I saw a movie called Mountains about Little Haiti and what's going on in Little Haiti with the nice houses that are somewhat affordable, not really, but and people who want to live in them, and then they can't afford to buy them. And then the house gets knocked down and they make a mansion, because that's what's happening, and that's happening in all our neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. So the gentrification, or just the change of everything. And, I have a story. If we have a minute, I'll tell you. I had to work December 26, 2022. So I'm driving to this job site at 10 o'clock at night. We're going to work for this client who closes. They were open. It's slow season. They need us to go in at night and do a job. So I'm driving and I'm looking at the skyline of Miami and I'm like, I don't even recognize this place. Where am I? It's like a combination of New York, Dubai, and like, where am I? This isn't the Miami I grew up with. I've been born and raised here my whole life. And I've seen changes, right? Like we all have, but it seems like almost like we're in a distant place, right? So I start getting really depressed, and I'm looking. I grew up in Little Havana for a good part of my youth, and I'm looking at Little Havana, and there are all these buildings that weren't there and all these little spots that I used to eat at are gone, and I'm like, wow, this is so different. And I'm thinking, I'm a 305 guy. I'm 305 till I die, and I think I might have to move. I might not be able to afford to live here. My kids can't buy a house, and I'm getting into this depression, and I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And you know what happened? The song that was on the radio changed, and I was listening to like a classic 70s sad love song. And so luckily it changed to something upbeat, and it kind of like snapped me out of it, but it left me thinking. I go, wow, our community's really changed. It's changed a lot, and it's going to continue to change.
It is, yeah.
And so the good thing is I believe I lived in the best time Miami was around, which was like the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, even the early 2000s. It's going to be something totally different. I'm not saying it's worse or better. I just really have that nostalgia for what I grew up with as being Miami, where people knew everybody. Now there's so many people from everywhere else. We've always been the gateway, but now it's not just the gateway to Central and South America. It's the gateway to the world.
It is.
And soon it'll be to other planets or universe, right? Because who knows what's going to happen.
It's exciting. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see, like you said, in a few years where we'll be compared to now, because we're moving so quickly.
So you get to the airport and they have these pictures of Miami, and you look at it and you're like, that doesn't look like Miami that I know. But then now that is the Miami. Everywhere you go, these buildings are just amazing. The architecture, the design. I mean, I was in Los Angeles last year, and I was in the only place that had the cars that we drive that I've seen is Beverly Hills. Other than that, I've been all over the United States, and you don't see this, like, you don't see cars like you see here. You see amazing 300,000, 500,000, $1 million cars.
That's a house on the road.
Yeah. And they're everywhere. Mm-hmm. And you don't see that anywhere else, but you see it in Beverly Hills. And you see it in Miami. So,
Coral Gables is supposed to be surpassing Beverly Hills.
Exactly. Yeah, I saw that. I did see that report, and I was like, who would have thunk?
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
It's where we are.
Yeah, it's just amazing. It's amazing.
So, Victor, if there's anything you want the community to know about you, as far as your contracting services or your books, what do you have to tell them?
So, on the contracting side, construction has a lot of challenges. Make sure you have good communication with your contractors, ask good questions, and get referrals, get references. Because unfortunately, our business does get a bad reputation because there's a lot of bad actors.
Sure.
As far as on the personal passion side, what would I tell people? I say, you know what? If you have a dream, wake up and live it. Wake up and live it. Go for it.
Go do it.
Do it, because I think, what's the biggest challenge to having a dream come true? That you don't get it? That you fail? I don't think so. I think the biggest challenge to having your dream come true is fear. Fear of what? Of what if this happens? What if it doesn't happen? Right. And 99.9999% of what you're afraid of never comes true.
Yeah.
So you're just sitting there waiting, and you never take that chance. So take the chance. Go for it. Dare to live.
Dare to live.
Dare to live. You got to do it.
I love it. Thank you, Victor Seijas, the author of Dare to Live. You can get that book on Amazon. We're so thrilled to have your nuggets of wisdom here today. It's been a pleasure talking to you. And I hope that you all will join us for one of our many chamber events at ChamberSOUTH. We have networkers, we have luncheons, plenty of opportunities for you to meet people just like Victor, business leaders in our community. And thanks for watching us.